You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
This is Alex Alonso from StreetTV, bringing you guys another episode of California Tier Talk. And who I got on the line, both from Solano State Prison. I got Damien, Tiny Cisco Doster, and Bryan Thames. TC is from Los Angeles, out the Avalon Gardens, and Bryan Thames is from the Bay Area, from a town formerly known as Pittsburgh. Is that correct, Mr. Thames?
Thames is my last name. It's West Pittsburgh.
It's Thames, with a T.
Yes.
Thames, okay. From a town formerly known as West Pittsburgh.
Right.
Okay. And
now they call it Bay Point.
Okay. And is that, do you know anything about the name change that has occurred since you've been incarcerated?
Yeah, I know it was to trick people. It was supposed to be a fancy name and to draw a different demographic there. I mean, they built it up a little bit, but it was supposed to trick people.
Okay.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And let's just start off with telling the people how long both you guys have been in prison and a little bit about where you guys are currently housed at, starting with TC.
Down, a little bit over 2 decades. And right now I'm currently housed in CSP Solano, A Yard, Building 4, and right here in good old,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, this is Brian. I've been down this month, made 33 years. January 28th will be 33 years exactly. And I'm also here at the so-called positive programming facility. This is supposed to be the place when you're not going to be acting up anymore, when you're really trying to go home, but it's still a general population line. So I've been here since November 2017.
Oh, okay. You've been there. Oh, you were there when Bobo was still alive. I don't know if you knew Bobo. He helped facilitate some peace treaties on the streets of LA before he passed.
And he was here?
Yeah, he was in Solano up until he got a compassionate release because of an illness sometime around 2021, 2020, somewhere, or 2022, and then he died. He didn't live that long after he was released.
Well, I'm sure I met him. Because I've been here for a long time. I've been right here on this yard. Yeah.
Isn't Bobo's isn't that Tabla's brother, Alex?
That's correct. That's Tablas's older brother by about 2 years.
Okay.
And he helped.
Yeah, because I've been here. I've been in the same building, the same cell. I've been in the same spot for years.
That's where the truce between the East Coast Crips and the Florencia 13, it came out of that prison. It came from that prison.
Didn't know that.
Okay, so let's get into we got some good news regarding Brian, TC.
Yeah, let's get into it. Brian.
I had a suitability hearing on the 15th. January 15th had just passed. My last suitability hearing, I had a 5-year denial, and that was from October 7th, 2021. I shouldn't have got a 5-year denial. I should have been released then. I should have been released the time before that. I don't get write-ups. I stopped getting write-ups a long time ago. My last serious write-up was February 14th, 2003. I got an administrative write-up where I actually wasn't guilty in September 2013. So that's 10 years apart. I don't get write-ups, but I got a 5-year denial. So I didn't read my transcripts from the last denial. I just came back and I continued the program. Stuff that I thought I needed to do, that's what I did. And I did it multiple times. Like I did anger management through correspondence and through groups in the prison. I did that more than one time. I did domestic violence, although I've never had any domestic violence, nothing beyond yelling. You know, like, be quiet, shut up. But that's considered domestic violence. I did a lot of extra stuff. I even volunteered and went to college, but I originally didn't go to get a degree. I'm doing political science, that's my major. I didn't go to get a degree. I saw some free information. Somebody had left a book in the day room, and I picked it up. I'm like, oh, man, I can get this stuff for free. So that's the only reason I originally enrolled in college. And I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this degree and maybe just go get some stuff after. I mean, because it's actually easy. The work is real easy. So I finally looked at my transcripts from my prior denial of suitability after I had done everything I felt I needed to do. And that was only a few months ago. When I looked, it just so happened that I covered everything that they asked me to do, and I went above and beyond all the things that they wanted me to address. One of the main things they wanted me to address is they wanted me to be sure that I understood my triggers for violence, because I don't do drugs. The last time I smoked weed was December 1994. I have not had a drink since I've been in prison, in jail. So for 33 years, the last time I drank anything was December 1st, 1993. I don't smoke cigarettes. I mean, I'm clean. So I was getting all this together, and it just happened to coincide with what they wanted me to do when I looked at what the board suggested from the last time. There were a lot of highlights to the 15th last week. There were a lot of highlights. I'll share a couple of them with you.
Before you share the highlights, let me just ask you about you get a 5-year denial, sometimes you get a 3-year denial, and sometimes you get a 2-year denial. Can you explain with that 5-year denial how the CDCR justified their 5-year denial?
Well, let me correct you on something first in California. Because of Marcy's law, the denials are 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and 15 years. You can get any one of those. But if you get a 3-year denial, there's an administrative review. A 5-year denial, the way that they would justify that, and they could not justify it in my case, the way they would justify it is if I had not been programming. If I had gotten a write-up, like from the last time that they had seen me, then they could have justified it. So not programming is one way to justify getting 5 years or more denial. I didn't have that. I don't get write-ups. So I started thinking that it really was something else going on. I had my own theory.
They don't break that down to you like, this is why we're giving you the 5-year denial, XYZ.
They didn't do that with me. And everything that they did say, stuff that they wanted me to do, had nothing to do with disciplinary. You have to be breaking the rules. You have to have done something. Someone has to have done a 1030, which is dropped a confidential message and said, you've been a part of something that you shouldn't be doing. And whether or not that's true, they consider it. None of that happened with me. Even when I went on the 15th, the commissioner made it a point to say it was an incredible feat that I had spent 33 years in prison and never had a single 1030 dropped on me.
And can you explain what a 1030 is for those who don't understand?
Yeah, a 1030 is actually a document. The number is the number of a document. You know, just like we have 602, or 602 is the number of the document. There are a bunch of documents in CDCR, and they're identified by numbers if they're official forms. So it's the 1030. That's not what a person actually goes and writes on. they can just simply take a piece of scratch paper and write a note and say Joe Blow is getting bones in. Joe Blow is out here selling a gang of dope. And that'll be recorded on a 1030 form, on a document of CDCR 1030. And then that goes into your file. And they may or may not thoroughly address the allegations made against you. Now, usually a person will actually, from what I've heard, they will put their name on there because the people that investigate or who are supposed to investigate 1030s or confidential notes, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to really give it weight if the person has been a reliable snitch. If that person has given up information before, then what they'll say is, oh, yeah, we need to investigate this because it just might be true. So the short answer is the 1030 is a confidential note meant to expose you or bring you on the radar of the prison officials.
Okay, now before
does that make sense to you, Alex?
Yeah. Before you go into the highlights, did you want to get into the theory of why you think you were denied, or do you just want to leave that alone for now?
No.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Whatever way you want to navigate it,
yeah,
I'll go your way.
Well,
I'll go your way.
I don't know how much you want to get into the previous 5-year denial, but I think it's real interesting because we don't really get to hear about the board process. We don't really get to hear what's going on behind the scenes with people trying to come home. So I was just curious if you had some sort of theory that you wanted to discuss regarding that 5-year denial.
Yeah, I'll share it with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even brought it up. I'll share it with you. I'm for future references, I'm open with everything. So you'll see, and you're about to hear it right now. All right, first, I have no proof of this. That's why it's called a theory. But I do have a lot of facts that, when taken together, they might seem to prove my theory. First, I am guilty of the crimes that I was convicted of. I was convicted of first-degree murder. I was also convicted of...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
First-degree attempted murder. In addition to that, there were 5 other men that got away, and there was testimony in court that I couldn't catch them.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
They lived. So here's the thing about all of this. All of my victims and near victims were white males. And when I went to the board last week, they asked me, was I racist? And I told them no, which is the truth. But I did intentionally target white adult males.
Brian, before you go into the theory about your white victims, I wanted to ask TC just briefly, hearing about this process, the board process, and being that you haven't been to board yet, I don't know if you're expecting to go to board or if you're expecting the courts to look at your case in a different way, but what's just your whole assessment and thought process thinking about if you go to board?
I mean, I'm looking at it as a roadmap. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff that Brian did, you know, I've done a lot of the same thing, like, you know, self-help groups and you know, prep and all that other stuff. So, but just hearing the whole, you know, hearing him explain the whole process of what it's like going up in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking more at it like a roadmap, like a, you know, as a guide.
Okay. Now, Brian, you mentioned the Marcy law, which I guess doesn't make your case eligible for a 3-year denial. I want to get back to the story about your victims, but I want you to explain the Marcy law and why the 3-year denial you weren't eligible for that.
Well, I was eligible for that. Last week was my 4th time going to board. The first 2 times, I got a 3-year denial, back to back. And at the second denial, the commissioner held up his fingers. You know, when someone says like a little bit, he actually said just a little bit more, and he held up his fingers like he was pinching the air, suggesting that if I do a little bit more, I can come back, and the next time I will most likely be found suitable. That's how I interpreted that. But at the next one, I got a 5-year denial. Now, what was spoken of a lot was restitution. Not that I owed restitution, but I keep telling people I believe that I was the first person, if not the first person, I was definitely one of the first that was actually punished, apparently punished for allowing people to put funds on my books or my prison account so that they could go to campaign. For people that don't understand what that's about, what I would do is I would allow people, let's say, to put $100 on my prison account, and I would charge them $20 so they could spend $80. But if they were to get the money on their account when they owed restitution, they would have to pay a 55%, my bad, excuse me, 55% fee. So it was a huge deal for them to put money on my account, and I did that for a while. And you might wonder, well, how did the board find out about that? Well, they put me in a hard spot. This is what they did. When they were still doing face-to-face hearings and not remotely, it was 2 females, commissioners, deputy commissioners, came in with a piece of paper with about 30 or 40 names on it, first and last names. Most of these names were names of females. I only recognized 2 of them, my wife and the prosecution's main witness. They were sending me money for me. There may have been a couple dudes on there, but all the rest were women. I didn't know these women, and why didn't I know these women?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Because they were the family and friends of people who were trying to circumvent restitution, and I was helping them to circumvent restitution. So they, the commissioner, they didn't ask me about restitution. What they said is, who are these women? And I said, I don't know. I just know my wife and Lisa. And they ran with it and said, we think that you're manipulating women. And here's the thing about that, Alex and TC. You don't want to be known as a manipulator in any capacity, because there's no such thing as, well, you're just a manipulator of women, but nothing else. According to the board, a manipulator is a manipulator, and you cannot be trusted. No story you tell, nothing.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
No tears that you shed, none of that can be trusted. So rather than set myself up for such a huge setback, I told the truth. And I told them that it was about restitution. And I was not a manipulator. And when I did that, I feel like that was something else that they really punished me for also.
Now,
that's not for me. Yeah.
I want to just let the people know that, restitution in the state of California is going to change based on a case. Ironically enough, it was a Mexican mafia dude that challenged his restitution. He argued to the court, and as of December of 2025, they're going to rearrange the amounts of restitution that people will be paying in California based on what you can afford, not based on the way they were doing it before. So I just wanted to throw that in. That case is People vs. Cop, KOPP, and it was a guy named Jason Hernandez, known as Chapo, from Vadio Fallbrook out in San Diego, that challenged the restitution, and the courts agreed that restitution is too much for some of these prisoners.
A lot of people are going to be happy to hear that.
Yeah, and let me get both of you guys to comment on restitution, because that's another topic that when you hear people talk about prison, the conversation about restitution doesn't come up so much. So TC, let me hear from you regarding this topic of restitution and how may it have impacted you or other people you've been incarcerated with.
shit, restitution was a killer for me, especially, man. He was burdening my family and stuff because, they would have to always end up putting a whole lot more just so I can have the benefit of the full amount to go to store. You know what I mean? So, and in many times, for my folks, or you know what I'm saying, they wasn't really doing all that well. You know what I mean? To be shelling out all that extra money and shit, so it was an extra burden to them too. And then, I've been fortunate enough, in my time to win money from, from civil claims and shit against CDCR, and restitution always just sucked all my little winnings up. You know what I mean? From civil complaints from 1983s. You know what I mean? And so I've never really been able to enjoy, the full spoils of money that I received from civil complaints or, family and friends, because restitution always sucked it up. You know what I mean? I've just now, in 20 years, I've just now barely finished paying my restitution.
Can you talk about how much they charged you and what was that based on?
Okay, so I had a $10,000.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
For like victims, the victims of crime in my case, and then I had another $10,000 restitution fine from another.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That wasn't even a victim. I ended up getting acquitted on him. You know what that is, Melvin. And so I was still hit with a restitution fine on it, even though I got acquitted of that situation. So restitution it totaled up to $20,000. And then the court costs, the court fee, and other little restitution fines. So I had about $22,000 to $23,000 in restitution, and all this time I've been in, man, I've just now barely started paying. Man, that shit's finally over after 20-some years.
That's crazy because the law just went into effect to adjust restitution based on what you could afford. Brian, break down the restitution you was facing when you got convicted of your case.
Yeah, it's. I was listening to TC, right, and the numbers that he mentioned are numbers that I've heard and seen before, and it's incredible to me. And I think that it was an insult, a total insult to the people that I victimized, because my restitution was only $500. And I paid that off so long ago, it's like it never even existed.
Why was your restitution?
So it was just $500.
Why was it so low? Is it because your case was from the early 90s?
That's the only thing I can come up with, is that there were different laws at that time, because you have restitution, you have a direct order, you have fines and you have fees, and they're different. I forgot which one, TC might know. One of them, they put a stay on it. They'll charge you, but then you won't have to pay it unless something else comes up. I don't remember which one it is, so I don't want to start talking about it like I know. Good.
No, there's a direct order, and then there's a whole nother. All right, so I had the two $10,000 restitution fines, and one of them was a direct order, and then the other one was a regular restitution. Then there was a whole nother a whole nother fine. You know what I'm saying? Like a $5,000, $10,000 fine, but it wasn't a direct order. You know what I'm saying? And so if you let's just say if I were to pay the first $10,000 direct order payment off, and then now I'm hit with that additional $10,000 restitution, now that becomes a direct order. You know what I mean? It's shady, man. It's shady how they do motherfuckers with restitution shit, man. That shit's crazy.
Real quick, when you mentioned victims payment, I know that the city of LA, they give the family of a victim, it used to be $7,000, I think it went up to $10,000. They call it victim assistance money, I guess, for funeral, for cost, and things like that. But it sounds like whatever the city is giving to the family, they just charging the inmates for that same money to get back.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's exactly what's going on. But look, okay, TC just talked about it being shady. Let me tell you how it's really, really been shady over the decades, bro, right? There has never been a law, unless there's something new that came up in 2025 or in these 20s. There's never been a law requiring that the county or the state has to even tell victims that there's a victim's restitution fund. That money is not automatic. What you're talking about seems like something automatic. It's not automatic. So if people don't ask for it, or in the past, if they didn't ask for that money, they weren't going to get it. And the money would just sit and collect interest. It would sit and collect interest. So it's been like a huge racket. And nobody has really been, like, challenging what's going on the other
You
side.
have 60 seconds remaining.
It's just been this push to get prisoners, you know, to pay.
So basically, what you're saying, Brian, is it's not even.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
That the victims. It's not even guaranteed that the victim's family, in my situation, got that restitution.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
that's the game they playing, brother.
So who got the money? Nobody knows where the money went.
If so many prisoners, tens of thousands, are paying some amount of restitution, and that restitution on the other side is gaining interest, then it wouldn't be missed if shady individuals are lining their own pockets, because the level won't change. You understand what I'm saying? You're still going to see whatever amount is supposed to be in there, minus the interest. People could, in theory, they could take money out, put it back in. They can do whatever. Because if there were some statistics brought up, legitimate statistics, I'm confident that you'll see that there are much less people actually applying for restitution funds than the money that's available to victims of violent crimes and other crimes. There are going to be much less people that are going out to get it.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe in certain cities throughout California, they might not be as knowledgeable about it. Like, I know in LA, everyone knows about it. So every family, they know if they have a family member that's a victim, they got some money coming to them. You know, they gotta apply for it, and sometimes they make it a little bit difficult.
Right.
Sometimes they'll say, I heard this one situation where they said, well, your son, he got killed in the driveway. He didn't get killed on the street. Therefore, that was private property, and you might not be eligible for the victim assistance money. But I bet you that person that got convicted of that crime still had to pay restitution.
Yeah. No doubt.
And look, your assessment on that, for sure.
Okay, now break down.
It's awful.
Yeah. I think it's awful that sometimes they'll find excuses not to pay the victim assistance, like in the example I just gave you. But go ahead.
Yeah, here's another kicker. Another kicker is it ain't not just the restitution side of it, but I mean I can remember back when I first came to prison. You know what I'm saying? The percentage on restitution was like 22%, and then a couple years went by. Next thing we knew, the percentage was 33% that a person would have to give up restitution off the money they received on in their trust account. And then some more years went by, it was 40%, then 45%, then 50%, and then 55% is where we at now in terms of the percentage of the money that they take from like family, friends. Let's say if you got a job, an institutional job, you work for PIA or something like that, they're taking 55% off the dollar. You know what I mean? So, like Alex, if you sent me if you would have sent me like $100, let's say last year, you sent me $100 last year, I was only getting $45 at $100, and these people was taking 55% of that $100, and then left me with $45. So I'm getting under half of the money that you sent.
Well, hopefully this new law that just went into effect.
And insult to injury. Sorry.
I was just going to say, hopefully this new law will adjust those percentages and actually the total amounts. That's what the law. And I doubt it though. I doubt that it's retroactive though, where people who paid significant amount of money can go back and maybe get a refund.
You know, to add to the shadiness, like 55% that we're right now that TC spoke of, it's 50% that they're saying, look, that's what we're taking. That other 5%, that's administrative fees. So they're taking an extra 5% for administrative fees, for the money to go over here electronically or to go over there. And, you know, it's like it's shady all the way around. I mean, I agree that the victims should be getting something and money shouldn't be coming out of their pockets. But the way that this is being done, it's like it's an additional crime. That's a crime also. It feels criminal, you know.
Okay, now you were talking about you being punished for helping other people while circumventing the restitution situation. How do you feel? What did they do to you in terms of punishment? Do you think that was part of the denial, your previous denial?
Yeah, the previous two. That's the thing. They talked about it both times, and they're not supposed to do that. If something is addressed, they're not supposed to try to readdress it at a subsequent hearing. So they did that. They violated their own laws and their own rules and procedures to keep me in prison. Also, hold up. Yeah, also, what they did is they went up. Like I said, they went up from a 3 to a 5 with the knowledge that I hadn't done that. I hadn't done the restitution thing. At the time of the hearings, I hadn't done it for over 10 years.
Okay. Now let me ask you.
I had just been doing it.
Okay, regarding that restitution hustle that you was doing, some people listening might say, okay, you helped circumvent some people from paying the restitution, so you were able to help out a situation where the prison was.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Where the justice system is kind of exploiting the prisoners, but then some people might say at the same time you're charging 20%, which I guess is another level of exploitation. How did you justify that hustle?
Well, there is no justifying it, and it is exploiting. It's exploitation. It's just to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
You know, because it was either going to be 55% or 20%. So I saw an opening, and it's like, okay, I don't want anything. I got you.
And I know that people that are in there with you and other people who can resonate with doing time, they're not going to knock the hustle.
No, not at all. No, I haven't heard that from anybody in blue.
Okay, so let's move towards the victims being white. And they asked you if you was racist at the board, and you said no. And expound on that whole situation.
Yeah, so my attorney had already let me know, and I knew from previous hearings, when the commissioner or deputy commissioner asks a question, listen very carefully and answer only what they ask you. Don't expound unless they do a follow-up question. I had so much I wanted to say when he asked me, are you a racist? But I kept with the program, and I said no. And I figured just saying no was going to cause him to ask more questions, which is what I wanted, and he did. So the commissioner said, well, if the initial person that you had a conflict with had been a black man, would you have gone out and hunted black men that night? And I said no. And he said, why not? I said, because for me, this whole thing was clearly about race. And if it had been just another black man, I would have done what I normally do. And he said, what is that? I said, I probably would have just knocked him out and then got it over with.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He actually accepted that. And then he asked me more questions. And I had already submitted, Alex and TC, I had already submitted my relapse prevention plan and reentry plans. And as a part of that, I had submitted what's called a statement of accountability. I did a little research, non-scientific, and I found out that most people do about one page. On my statement of accountability, where I took full responsibility for my emotions at that time, for my behavior, which came from my emotions, the violence, and ultimately the murder and attempted murder. It was 8 pages of me explaining, and it was clear that I felt that each situation was because I happened to be at the bar with a white woman, and she was a real pretty white woman. And I know that from experience, like I said, I'm from the Bay Area. We typically don't play that shit. It's like, and when I say play that shit, I'm talking about like the race thing. We don't really do that. That's some other type shit. That we don't really do that. And it blew me away when guys were like disregarding me, or just straight up disrespecting me. I'm talking about right in my face, 1 foot away from me, 2 feet away from me. I thought I was on a hidden camera show. And, you know, but everything was explained in my document, and whatever the commissioner asked me that I had already explained, I kept it short without minimizing. And one of those ways that I kept it short is I told the commissioner that, I'm looking at something. I told the commissioner that I didn't go out to hurt anybody that night. And he wanted to know what I meant. I said, I went out with the intent to kill. My plan was to kill as many white men as I could. And he said, why? And I said, because they were a representation of the men that I couldn't catch. Because I actually, I broke one nose that night. I chipped some teeth. I knocked about 2 people out. I beat up a lot of people that night, and the guys still weren't scared of me, and I didn't understand that. I just wanted them to leave me alone. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't impaired. And I said all this to the board, so none of this is new. But with all of this in mind and all of this, at least some of it in the police reports, I felt that going to board, they were never going to find me suitable. Because this is America. And when you look like me, you don't get to go out and kill white people and ever go home. So I honestly never expected to be found suitable. I just wanted to become a better person. So that's why I started programming. That's why I started changing. That's why I really just started connecting with other people, because I figured I just want to be a good person. I want to be a good dude. I don't want to be that person anymore. Because I went through 2 nicknames. I just want to throw that out there real quick. I used to be Chucky, Child's Play. And then after Chucky, they started calling me TikTok from a Dean Koontz novel. And I don't like those guys. I like Brian. I like square-ass Brian.
Okay.
So my theory, Alex,
Yep.
that I can't prove is that I really felt that I was being punished because my victims were white. because I've seen black men and Mexicans
You have 60 seconds remaining.
kill people that look like them and get out way quicker than these 33 years that I've.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And some of the murders are like heinous. Some of them are not like shooting. Like somebody said something about a dude cutting somebody's heart out, and then when the police caught him, he had the heart in his pocket. I don't know if that's urban legend, but if it happened, like, he's on the streets now, according to what I was told. But it was another person of color that he killed.
So, Brian, was the family of the victims proactive during your previous board hearings, and did that have an impact?
There was never anybody. No DA showed up, nothing. My understanding is that a DA wrote a letter, but physically coming, there was nobody there. There was no family. There was never anybody saying, don't let him out. There was nothing.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of where families of the victims come to the hearings? How common is that? Do you guys personally know people who have been denied because their families have been extremely proactive?
Nah, I've never heard of it.
TC?
No, I've never heard of it. Never seen it. Never heard of it.
In fact, in the
Don't know anybody.
in the Menendez brothers hearings, they had the reverse. They had the family supporting their release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. the victim's family came and was, you know what I mean, and was supporting the Menendez brothers. So, you know, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, because they're all the same family, so you know they're supporting.
Yeah.
They're supporting the two brothers, even though they're related to the victims too.
Yeah, but you know, in a situation like you know, what I'm saying like me and Brian's or anybody else, I've never, you know, had a conversation with anybody that just flat out came out and said, yeah, man, my victim's family was there, you know what I'm saying, you know, advocating for me not to be found suitable, advocating for me to stay in prison. I've never heard it.
Okay. Well, that was a real interesting insight into the board hearing. Now, I believe the last thing is the governor has to sign off, and is that 120 or 150 days?
The total will be 150. The governor.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The governor's supposed to get the package by 120 days, and then he has 30 days to make a decision. But I've seen guys who are lifers, like within the last year, I've seen several guys be found suitable after having been convicted and served time for murder, and have gone home in like 80-something days, 90-something days. So well under that 150.
And do you know?
I'm thinking that's probably going to happen. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is there anything special that the governor considers, or is that a process that's out of your reach?
Yeah, I would say it's out of my reach. I don't really know.
Do you know what the release process is like? So let's just say the governor signs off today. They come to your cell. Who comes to your cell? Is the COs come to your cell and say, "Hey, you're free." How does it go?
Well, not exactly. Usually, TC might know something more, but usually you will know the date. So they'll give you a little time and be like, you know, you're going to be gone. The date has changed. It won't be 150. You're going to be going home in 2 weeks. You're going to be going home in 17 days and such and such days. So springing it on you, it's not springing it on you where they just walk up to your door and say, get out. So from my observation, they usually give people time, even when it's not the full 150 or full 120.
Okay. Now, TC, have you experienced anybody that you were around that got released in the same way Brian's about to get released?
Yeah, I mean, dudes get found suitable here in Solano all the time. I mean, hell, shit, Cookie got found suitable and went home from here. So we seeing dudes pretty much every week that's being found suitable. That's that's going home. You know what I mean? Some leaving in 80-some, 70-some days, 120 days, and you know what I mean. And, the process is always different for different people, but we seeing dudes go home all the time from right here.
Okay, and
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, let me say this too. I don't know how you edit your program, but I do want to say this. I told the board, and I want to say this for whoever hears this. The man that I killed and the man that I tried to kill and the people that I hurt that night, I know how I felt, but I know that nobody deserved that. They didn't deserve what I did to them. I was disappointed then. I was disappointed with myself, and my disappointment was because I wanted to kill more people. And I don't feel that way now. When I spoke to the board about this, I got choked up and I cried. And I don't mean just like the little stuff and you can wipe it away. No, it was real tears and I couldn't talk because I really hate to think about what I did. I didn't shoot anybody, Alex, TC. I went and got steak knives. So the same shit we do here in prison, that's what I was doing. I went and I got steak knives, and I went out to just kill white men. And the people that I did attack after I left the club or the bar, they had nothing to do with it. So I was trying to kill total strangers. And I just want to say I really hate that I did that, and I am genuinely sorry because I understand ripple effects, and I explained that when I understood about it to the board. And the commissioner didn't say I had insight. He said, you showed incredible insight. Because I gave some examples of some personal stuff that I knew and how it could be a ripple effect at the very beginning. So I do want it to be known that I'm not that person. I was that person.
You must have got apprehended pretty quickly from how you explained the way you victimized those people, right? You must have did not get too far.
No, I got away.
And how long?
I got away for a while.
Is that right?
I didn't get arrested for these crimes until March 9th, 1993. But I was out on parole. I had already been to prison. So I was in the county jail in January 28th, for a parole violation. That was for going over 250 miles without asking my parole officer if I could go. That was about to be up. They were about to release me, and the investigator and detective came down from Shasta County, because that's where I went, and they arrested me in the county jail and took me up to Shasta County. So they had nothing for the longest. They had no evidence. I was even playing phone tag with them for a while. This is back when we still had pagers. So, they would call my pager. I didn't know where they got my pager number from. They would call my pager. I'll call back. This is such and such from Reading Police Department. And I would actually talk to them. And at that time, I was lying, still saying, "Oh no, yeah, I was there, but no, I don't know anything about that." So I didn't get caught right away.
So they were on your tail pretty early on. Did you ever think that you got away with it, or you kind of knew they're gonna figure this out?
Yeah, there was no way they could figure it out. There was no way. They needed one person to say that it happened and they saw it. They didn't have any of that. Like I said, I'm guilty, but they did some really, really sneaky stuff in order to arrest me and then ultimately get a conviction.
Sometimes it seems like law enforcement might bend the rules sometimes in their investigative techniques when they feel like we got the right guy, but we're going to have to bend the rules to create the evidence, right?
Right. You said it better than I could have said it. You said it like perfectly. Because, just to be clear, there was no fingerprint evidence, there was no blood evidence, there was no eyewitness evidence. Even the guy that survived came to court and said he didn't know who attacked him, and he's looking right at me. And he didn't know who attacked him. There was nothing. So, yes, I did think I had gotten away with it. I never thought I would get arrested. When I got arrested, I never thought I would get convicted. When I got convicted, I never thought I'd spend any time in prison. And then here we are 33 years later.
Incredible. It just makes me think about TC has some details in his case that if all of it came to light, it would really kind of make the Riverside County authorities look a little bit shady.
Yeah, super.
See, I was just going to say, I don't even know that.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I'm sure a little shady is probably an understatement.
A whole lot shady.
Yeah.
A whole lot shady.
All right.
But hey, you know what I was thinking though, Alex? Like I was thinking about all the other times Brian had went to the board and they had gave him those different denials, like 3 years, 5 years. I mean, hey, Brian, did it feel like the board was sentencing you to more time, but not being like a court?
Well, when
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, especially in retrospect, right? Like after the time had passed, I even looked at it that way now, TC. Like the way you just said, I looked at it that way because I first went in what the hell? I can't remember the month, but it was in 2018. And toward the end of the year, 2018, that's when I first went. And here we are at the beginning of 2026. Count that shit up, man. It's like y'all just sentenced me to like 7 more years. And some change. The reason why I've been doing everything. Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that shit because, I've seen dudes come out the board feeling like, damn, man, these motherfuckers just denied me. It's like they sentenced me to like 3 more years. They sentenced me to like 5 more years. You know what I'm saying? And I hear it a lot. It's like, damn, bro, that's fucked up. Like, they're not even in court. And here they go, like, giving motherfuckers, denying motherfuckers for 3 years. That's essentially a sentence.
And the thing about that, TC, is, okay, it could be argued that it's within their purview, especially if you're serving a life sentence, right? But see, the flip side of that is, even the denials, bro, when they deny us,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
It's supposed to be within the law. There's supposed to be lawful, legal reasons, not just because somebody feels a certain way. There is no provision in the law for a commissioner to feel a certain way, and upon that basis, either grant or deny suitability. It really is all in black and white, but the proceedings are never in black and white.
Brian, real quick, can you break down what the board looks like? How many people is there? And since you've been to the board multiple times, is it the same group of people? Does it change? Break that down for us real quickly.
Okay, there's 2 people. There's been 2 people every time. It's supposed to be the same 2 people for the same prisoner. So if you get denied, you're supposed to have the same ones next time, so they can actually see your growth. That has not happened. Every time I went, there were 2 different people. There's a commissioner and there's a deputy commissioner. The commissioner will talk about the hard stuff. We'll talk about your crimes. We'll talk about your behavior in prison. whether you did programs or not. When it gets to the commissioner may have some questions that the deputy commissioner may have questions that the commissioner missed, and they may do follow-up questions. They'll talk about, well, if you're found suitable, what do you plan to do in the community? That type of thing. So usually, from my experience from each of these hearings, the deputy commissioner has not really been so hardcore, and it seems like the role that they play. And the commissioner is more like, let's get to it. Let's see if you're going to admit who you were, no matter how horrible you were. But only two people.
And is this face-to-face or is it remotely? And if it's face-to-face, what kind of room are you in? Is the COs standing there for security? How is it looking?
Okay, prior to the COVID outbreak, it was face-to-face. Here at Solano, I can't speak to the other rooms. It's a room.
You know what that room is, Brian?
Descriptions that. Say it again.
You know what that room is? The boardroom. That's really a family visiting room that they converted into.
Yeah, but I don't know how to describe it though. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Like the size and all that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really like, if you really like look at it, like, cause I go in there a lot to do attorney visits, and I went in there a few times, and I'm like, damn, this shit feel like a family visiting room. And then when you look around, it's like, oh shit, it is a family visiting room.
Yeah, well, I was trying to figure out how to describe it, right? But there's a big window, there's a big long desk for when it's in person for the attorney and the client to sit on the same side. The commissioner and deputy commissioner would be several feet away on the other side. In case somebody gets upset, they won't be able to jump over the table and clear it and get to them because there are two COs in the room also. That's prior to COVID. There's a big window, another room next door, and it's a two-way window. So
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Now it's done remotely, and it's been done remotely for a few years now. Same room here at Solano, and you got the cops in the other room. They can look in and they can see you, but it doesn't really matter because it's being done remotely. So it's either Zoom or Teams or whatever people are using now. And my attorney is never on screen. My attorney sits off to the side. And the three people that are on the screen are myself, the commissioner, and the deputy commissioner. So it's just sitting there like that. It's done remotely, and the cops are not even in the room.
Does it feel a little
it's
less?
a pretty big room.
So you've experienced it both ways. Does it feel less personal
Yes.
with the Zoom?
Well, it is less personal, but for me, I know what I'm there for, and I've always known what I was there for. So I feel that my attitude and my demeanor, I don't know. An outside observer would have to tell me what they saw. But I feel like my demeanor, my behavior, and everything was the same both ways during the remote hearings and during the face-to-face. Okay.
Now, TC, you said they're actually using the visiting room. So this is a room that serves multiple functions. Then it's the board hearing room and it's the family visit room.
It's a family visiting room that's been converted into a board room. You know what I mean? They only using it for board and for attorney visits and things like that, or stuff like that. But at one point in time, you can feel like, okay, this used to be a family visiting room.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You're actually talking about a different room, TC, because I've been in that room too for one of my hearings. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's after you walk past the two cells with the bars, and you make a right.
Exactly.
But that's one way that you go. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But most of the hearings, you would keep going straight. And it's that other
keep going straight
I was talking about. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the All right, so like if you go past the two cell bars, you go to that first door, and if you go past it's another room that you turn and you kind of go outside, and you go into another room. You know, where they be having like the DPH consultations and shit.
They have psych.
They'll have them over there.
Yeah, they have psych here. They have all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
so,
it is a converted room. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's get some final thoughts before we wrap this up. TC, I want you to go first because you heard a lot about the process from a guy who's done it multiple times, and you've never done it, and you might be doing it soon. You might not ever have to do it, depending on how your case goes. But give me your final thoughts on what you heard.
Man, roadmap to success, man. And, you know, tonight it's really been all about Brian, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just being able to see his process, his growth, and all that shit, man. I feel like I got found suitable right along with him and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about growth, man. It's all about Brian, man. Like motherfucker super pumped up, motivated. You know what I'm saying? And, just living and basking in the moment of of his suitability. You know what I'm saying? Being able to get ready to go back out there into society, man, and do great things and stuff, man. So, I'm just celebrating my bro Brian, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy as hell for him,
Definitely. And Brian, I want you to give us some final thoughts, but I'm interested in the transition to freedom after 33 years and how your family is obviously changed, because 30 years ago, my family, I understand how families change over time because of old age, and we lose our parents, we lose our uncles, our aunts, we lose our brothers and sisters. How has your family changed, and what do you plan on doing when you get out?
Well, let me thank you. I appreciate that question. Those questions. Let me address the family thing first. I have no family. I have people who have the same bloodline as me, but I have no family. My parents died in 2004 and 2006. I'm the youngest. 4 siblings. I'm 57. And my sisters, I mentioned it on the other call, my sisters are 58, 59. My brother is like 60 something. I don't know, what is it, 2026? He's like 65 or something. But my understanding is that they don't even talk to each other, so it would be too much for me to expect them to talk to me. I have other family in other states. I'm not going to try to contact them for any reason. I don't know them. They're strangers to me. So the network that I've been developing over time, that will be the family that I will rely upon to help me to navigate this new beginning. Because although I have ambitions, I have desires, I have put things in place, everything tied to advocacy, a particular advocacy, and the things that I feel like I'm really good at and that I really enjoy, involving media, involving podcasting, film, editing, all that type of stuff, writing. The network that I have will be the family that will, I hope, continue to help me navigate. I don't expect to do it alone. I have no expectations that I even know what's going on out there. I don't have that belief. I have some anxieties, Alex. I'll give you one example. It's going to sound like I'm joking. I promise you and TC, I'm not joking. I have some anxiety about going home and living in a house or an apartment. That's kind of scary to me. That's scary to me because right now I'm perfectly safe. Nobody can sneak in his back window. Nobody can come through that door. That door is not going to open unless there's an emergency. That door is not going to open again until after 6 in the morning. I'm relaxed. But once I get out there, I'm in the free world again. Crime didn't stop. Crime hasn't stopped just because I've stopped. So people can come through the front door. People do home invasions. There could be a burglary, and they don't know I'm in there.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And I do not remember the last time, even in prison, that I've had 8 hours of sleep. That's like fiction to me. I don't even believe people when they say they get that. So if I don't sleep 8 hours here, and I have this anxiety about an open space that's not totally secure, I'm imagining that my sleep is going to go down even more until I get relaxed with being physically free again. I've been gone before, but never for this long. I mean, I've spent more time in prison than I've spent in the free world. You know, so this is going to be a little different, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working on some things with you, seeing if the other network and support systems hold up. Like I mentioned, people in media, and I'm really looking forward to the service that I speak so much about, because I don't just talk. I wasn't just a talker when I was out there doing wrong and doing evil and doing violence. So I'm certainly not just a talker when I talk about doing good and being of service to people. And that's what I look forward to. And that would be fulfilling to me. So that's how I know I'm going to get my bearings and I'll get past my anxiety.
All righty. Congratulations on being found suitable. And that will wrap up
Thank you.
another episode of California Tear Talk.